Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we will be reading from True Off My Chest. Our first post is by Throwaway. I didn't react enough to my husband asking for a divorce out of the blue and now he's mad. I, 26F, was served with divorce papers by my husband 27M about a month ago. I read them over and asked why. He told me he was in love with somebody else, his coworker, and wanted to marry her. I said okay and began the process of moving out. I own a rental property that operates as an Airbnb-like vacation home and began the process of moving there. I took all my things, including things I paid for by myself, like all of our gaming consoles. I also spoke to one of my colleagues, 38M, about having him represent me. I'm a clerk at a law firm. He has agreed and we have moved forward preparing for the divorce. My husband contacted me a couple of weeks ago, angry that I had taken all of my things and moved out. He was even more angry that I didn't have any emotional response and didn't fight for him. I explained that there was no use throwing a tantrum about divorce and that I'd take time to process things. He dismissed me as being cold and unfeeling and said some hurtful things about me, including insulting my appearance, the way I dress, and my hobbies. I took screenshots and sent them to my colleague. We had our first hearing a few days ago, and my soon-to-be ex-husband decided to represent himself. After the hearing, he flipped out on me again and demanded why I had become my colleague's client. I told him that I believed my colleague would fight for me and I trusted him. My soon-to-be ex was very upset and demanded to know why I had chosen an attractive male to represent me and asked if I was cheating on him with my attorney. I told him I wasn't sleeping with my colleague and that it was kind of insulting to accuse me of sleeping with somebody else when he was leaving me for one of his coworkers. He called me a fat W. I'm chubby but at a healthy weight, and said I was probably paying for my attorney with sex. I feel really upset and needed to get my feelings off of my chest. I'm glad I followed through with divorcing him, even though he seems to have somewhat changed his mind about leaving me. Our next post is by Muted End. I know that my husband is cheating on me with my best friend, but if I left, he will take half. I am a 40-year-old mother of a baby girl who is 5. I have been married to my husband for 12 years. About 10 years ago, I started my business and it is my pride and joy. I love my life and I enjoy my work. 2 years ago, I lost my beautiful mother to breast cancer. It all happened in 5 weeks and she was so young, 55 years old. It sent me into shock and depression. A short while before that, my best friend found out that her husband cheated and he left her for his mistress. It was a hard time and my best friend and I became even closer than ever before. She moved in with me for a while after my mother passed because I wasn't really functioning and she was homeless. I started with antidepressants that killed my sexual needs. I felt guilty for my husband, but I really couldn't do anything but try to be healthy again, as soon as possible. My best friend lived with us for 1 year and they started sleeping together towards the end of that year. That's when I got home early and heard them. I ran out in shock. I came back a few hours later pretending nothing happened. I managed to smoothly find her a place because I couldn't bear it happening in my home. My sanctuary. My happy place where I live with my daughter. My best friend had already found herself a job and I took the opportunity to find her the apartment near her job. She was grateful. I was a bit more relieved. The affair is still going on. If I leave, he will take half. It will ruin me and my business and what I am trying to build for me and my baby. No, I don't want to leave. It is so unfair that he is the one cheating and I am the one who will pay if I said anything. I refuse, so I am letting it happen. Instead, I wrote him off as my companion and safety blanket. I still have lots to be grateful for. My baby, my family and my beautiful home, and my business. Most of the time I am content and happy even though I myself don't know how I am doing it. Maybe it is numbness or resignation, or maybe it is true contentment. But sometimes, when everything is 100 times magnified, I can barely contain my panic, especially at night when he wakes me up because I am crying. Again, are you having a nightmare? And he tries to kiss and cuddle me to make me feel safe. I'm here, you're safe. I wish I could tell him that my nightmares are my escape from my reality with him, and that his shoulders aren't safe. He rarely asks why I am crying. He probably thinks it is mom because that's what I tell him. But sometimes I feel like he knows or that he can't help himself wondering. What's going on behind those eyes? What do you mean? I can't read your face anymore. See, you are silent again. When I look at him, he immediately looks away like he is scared he would turn into stone and says, I miss you, that's all. My panic has increased more these past few months since he started paying me attention again. The first period after Mom's passing, he never bothered me out of courtesy, I suppose. Never asked for intimacy. Then he had her, so he didn't need me. But now, I don't know what changed. They're still together, so what does he want from me? Is he testing me? I never understood why they're doing what they're doing either. I have seen their texts. There's no love there, no respect, no warmth. Not what I would expect from two people who are sleeping together, especially not when the stakes are so high. You would think that they love each other so much that they're willing to pay the price in case they're caught. No, there's a lot of anger, fighting, and resentment. A lot of guilt and self-hatred. He calls himself and her disgusting and shells of a human being. Is that too some sort of love? I don't know why I am writing here. I googled about infidelity and self-help, and I ended up in this community, and I read tens of similar stories. Maybe I would feel better writing my own down. Please don't think too ill of me. I know that I am pathetic, but I used to have more dignity. Our next post is by Throwaway. My mother-in-law decided to gossip with my daughter about my marriage, blowing a giant hole in my life. My wife cheated on me nearly 10 years ago. I won't get into the specifics, as they're unimportant, but due to the fact that I saw blame on both of our parts, I forgave her and we moved past it. My daughter is 16 years old, and she only just found out from my mother-in-law, who seems to have decided she was old enough to hear the family gossip, and that she would be mature enough not to confront her. Initially, my wife thought I had told her and came into my office where I had been to ask me what the hell I was thinking, and if I was trying to destroy their relationship. She and my daughter have been strained for a couple years now, lots of arguing on both sides. She refused to believe that I hadn't said anything at first until my daughter entered the room and joined in on the screaming that I was too weak and her own mother had sold her out. The fighting went on a long time, and honestly I may as well have not been there for all the good I did. I tried to step between them when I was concerned, but that only ended with some ringing in my ears. Eventually, my wife left to cool off, and my daughter and I could talk. She wasn't happy with me either, and didn't hesitate to tell me so, but she wasn't screaming or throwing crap anymore. So I just let her get it out. She asked me why I stayed, and I was honest, that I was no perfect husband, and I decided not to end my marriage, break up our home, and destroy her childhood for something that I held blame in as well. The entire time I was speaking, she just kept watching me with this sad face that made me uncomfortable. But when I finished, she just shook her head and said that I needed to leave my wife and that the cheating wasn't the only issue. She started bringing up every insignificant flaw my wife has. She brought up my wife getting angry at me because I had put too much creamer in her coffee, for example. Just trivial crap. I told her as much, but she just kept shaking her head. It ended up turning into an argument where she insisted I was some sort of victim and making some kind of getaway plan. I kept trying to talk her down, but that was going nowhere. I first tried my wife, but found my call went straight to voicemail, so I called my mother-in-law to inform her of the situation, but my wife had already made it there and planned to stay overnight to calm down because she didn't want to see either of our faces. It's been a few days now and I still haven't seen her or heard from her, but her mother informs me she's okay, just very emotional. So I'm also scared for my wife. She has had mental health struggles before, and if she's going through that again, I should be there to help. Edit. To the people who have commented or private messaged me to say I shouldn't care. My wife almost died the last time she had an episode, and I don't think even my daughter, as angry as she is right now, wants her mom dead. My daughter told me she hopes her mother never came back. I'm just feeling defeated and tired. I've done everything I can to keep this family floating, and somehow I'm still failing. It's beginning to feel like I always do at everything, and always will fail at everything as long as I live. Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.